Hey everyone. All right. Live streaming's on. Ready to record the podcast. Here we I got a text. Let me turn the volume down on my phone. I'm sure my volumes are right, which means off on my phones. Put those over here. All right. Here we go. Let's see. All right, buttons ready. Everything's on. Sounds on. All right, podcast. Oh, that's loud. Yay! Yeah! It's the Heleme podcast. Hello. I'm your glorious host, the illustrious Nick Carter. I am doing something new. I have a webcam in my face. I am live streaming on YouTube. Am I at 50? I don't think I'm at 50. I think this is number 49 podcast. It's been a while. Excuse me. I've been doing freeform podcasts for 48 episodes at least. I am fairly comfortable talking for an hour or two, but the big change now is I'm live streaming. The safety net I've always had is if I start to get too crazy, I can just hit stop and throw the whole thing away. As you may or may not know, I don't edit any of these. They're all beginning to end. I just hit record and then I go and then I hit stop and then I upload it 10 minutes later, and that's my process. But there definitely are times when I go down a rabbit hole I don't want to go down, and then I hit the stop button and it's like, oh shit, gonna hit the stop button, start again. And I can't do that now, because not that anyone's watching, because no one knows this channel exists. I'm going to try and not do anything on the webcam that would take away from just listening to this as an audio podcast. I'm not going to be sharing things on the video other than my glorious face, my magnanimous mustache. I'm not even looking at the camera. Hold on, look at see. I usually want to look at myself on the screen, because I think that's what people usually do when they're on the screen. And now I'm looking at the camera, and that feels weird too. So I'm probably just going to look around. I do have a couple notes on today's subject that I may make reference to, which I'll look at that part of the screen, but that's it. Okay. Civil War. I'm talking about Civil War. The movie and the actual war, the American Civil War, which, do you know when it started? Oh, shit. I think it started in 1860. I'm going with 1860 to 1864. I'm going for that, for the years for the American Civil War. And then there was a movie that came out this weekend. I saw the movie. It's awesome. I know I often like movies and then think about them for a couple of days and then I don't like them. This one I like. I still like it. I referred to it as the best movie of the year, which I guess the year is still early. But, pretty good. It's up there with Oppenheimer. I didn't see Barbie. They're blowing up my texts. Oh, they're talking about a cat. I can skip that. I'm ignoring it. I don't talk about cats unless the cat comes over and claws me. All right, so Civil War was pretty good. 2 days later, it's still pretty good. I'll get into what I like about it, what I not like about it. It really succeeds in that people are talking about it. People are getting into politics. And I can't really talk about civil wars without getting into politics, because how do you not? I guess you could just talk about like guns and bodies, but That's not the interesting part. We're going to talk about, I was Googling Civil War, looking for pictures, and I saw that is it the New Yorker, the magazine? They got a real hard-on for writing about whether or not the Civil War, there's another Civil War coming. There's a lot of people who got a hard-on for talking about whether or not there's a Civil War coming. I maybe everyone who's paying attention is wondering it, and I am going to share my opinions now based on what I've learned about the Civil War. I got into the actual Civil War. Here, let's talk about the real Civil War for a while. I'm going to stop talking about the movie. It's hard because everything I'm talking about is called Civil War. So for the next 3 hours, I'll just talk about the war. Okay, the next 30 minutes maybe. Talk about the war, not the movie. No, I've changed my mind. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how likely it is for us to get into a war, another civil war. I'll answer the New Yorker's question. I don't think we're going to get into a war. And I'll say why. And I'll get into it deeper when I actually talk about how the Civil War started and whatnot. And believe me, I'm not going to get boring. I'm not a history teacher. But let's see. There's a lot of judgmental people out there. There's a lot of people who hate other people out there. Is that what it takes? Is that the building blocks to make a civil war? A lot of people are worried about it. You go on social media and everyone hates everyone. Are these the building blocks for civil war? So how do you get there? How do you get to the line you got to cross? So there's are you willing to die for whatever your cause is? You really want something. The other side really wants something that is not compatible with what you want. Are you willing to die for that cause? You don't get civil war without both sides there. Are you willing to let your children die for the cause? And are you willing to kill? And if I was to put those three in order of least extreme to most extreme, I think the willingness to die, which is kind of counterintuitive, but I think people are more willing to die, at least in theory, than they are to kill, and certainly to kill their children. To let their children die. Like I guess that would be my thing, because if you're going to start a war, you're going to have to kill, and you're going to have to risk letting your children die. Because if there is no war, then your children are less likely to die than if you start a war. And that's it, because a civil war ain't just going to start. It ain't going to be a bad day. There ain't going to be a big article on some news site, and then all of a sudden we're in a war. There's going to be a point where enough people decide, I'm ready to let my family die, myself die, and I'm ready to kill. Not just the stranger down the street, but my brother. That's what the fucking Civil War was. It was brother killing brother over the most important issues at the time. And both sides, obviously in the Civil War, it was slavery that was the deciding issue, but both sides were fighting for different reasons. I'm not going to get into I don't have to say slavery is wrong. I'm not going to give a treatise on slavery. I'm not going to give a treatise on the institution, the global institution, or what I think of all of that. I'm just going to talk about things that start civil wars. And since we've only had one in this country, we'll talk about that one. I'm recording still? Good, I'm recording. Just thought I'd do a check. So, before I get to that, I want to finish my thoughts on whether or not we're going to start a civil war. We're a few years in on if you like this thing or you don't like that thing, unfriend me on Facebook or social media. You know, that's a long fucking way from killing people. I don't even know if people say that anymore. And maybe, you know, our bubbles, our tech bubbles are so strong we don't even randomly come across strangers we disagree with or family members. But either way, I haven't seen that in a couple years in the wild, but I don't think it's because we have begun to accept on social media people who are different from us. I think it's just that we have pruned up anyone who's listening to us. You know, if you got a friend. So here's the thing, Facebook just, all it does is show you shit you didn't ask for that makes you mad. That's all Facebook is. If you follow some people, you'll get 5 to 10% of the posts you'll see will be posts from the people you follow, the groups that you follow. And whether you have 10 friends or a billion friends, about 10% of what you see on Facebook is going to be what you want to see. Friends you follow. Oh, my watch isn't silent. That's the problem. Let's silence that. There we go. Friends you follow and pages you follow, groups you're in, things like that. So 10% of Facebook posts are that. And the other 90% is shit you didn't ask for. Just imagine you just have one TV channel. And you can go in and say, all right, here's the TV shows I want to watch. And then the person programming the channel, it's just your channel, by the way, but still, you don't get to choose what you watch. You get to put in a list of requests, and 10% of what you ask for is in the list. And then 70% of it is shit you hate, shit that pisses you off, shit that makes you hit the fuck you, I'm angry at this button. 70% of what you see is that, and then maybe 20% is stuff you agree with. That's Facebook in a nutshell. Instagram's better, Twitter, anything where you can say, don't show me shit I don't want to see. Instagram shows you shit you don't want to see, but at least it's more than 7% of what you want to see. How did I get to a social media rant on this? Well, I mean, the media, they control all of this stuff. I firmly believe that the reason why we think we're approaching a civil war is because social media is fucking with us. So I don't think we're actually heading for a civil war. I don't think there is anything going on that would make us want to murder. You know, we can cancel someone. If there's a stranger, someone who disagrees with us, and we're like, oh shit, if I say something and complain about them and they can never work again and they have to turn tricks on the street, that's cool. I'll do that. Or I can boycott a business and make them have to lay off all their workers. I think we're fine with that, but that's a different thing. Huge steps away from picking up a gun, putting it in your hand, and walking down the street and killing people. Because that's where we got to be for the Civil War to start. It can't be 5% of the population against 10% of the population, with 85% of the people going, oh no, this is weird that you two hate each other so much. That ain't going to start a civil war. It's got to be, 30, 40% of people against another 40% of people, with 20% this kind of going, oh shit, I hope you two sides work out your differences. So I don't think we're anywhere near there. Okay, let's go into the Civil War. Civil War. The Civil War, not the movie, the war. It was, slavery was the issue. When you look at what the people believed that caused, because they didn't say, I'm going to war for slavery. There were arguments, and I'm not, nothing I'm going to say is like, you got to understand why slavery is okay. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the people in the South, they wanted slavery, most of them, almost all of them, but most of them didn't own slaves. Most of the people who fought in the war, they didn't fight in the war to protect slavery. They fought in the war to protect their way of life, the idea that someone else is going to tell them what to do. Someone else with different ideals and different beliefs who lived hundreds of miles away was going to go there with guns and tell them they had to act the way the other people from far away wanted them to act. That's why the South went to war. And the North, they wanted to end slavery. And you can take a deep dive into history, how long Lincoln tried to not end the country over abolishing slavery. And a lot of people said, oh, well, that's not what it was about. And it clearly was what it was about. They didn't start the war from the northern side because they, wanted cheaper grits, wanted cheaper cotton. It was slavery, and it was the ending of slavery that pushed both sides to war. It technically started in a military fort. The South was in a fort in the South, and the Northerners told them to get out. And that's when they first started shooting at each other. It was a military thing. It wasn't a bunch of people in a grocery store or protesting on the streets. It was military action. I guess the question is, can you have a civil war without military people taking over? Can people just get so pissed off that they start a civil war? No, I don't think so, because the government can just come in and mop them up. It's got to be one military against another military, or it's just going to be, you can say what you want. I'm not going to get into what January 6th was, but there was a bunch of people there who didn't have guns in the most well-defended city in America, probably in the world. I don't want to talk about to speculate North Korea or something like that. But the idea that a few thousand people with T-shirts and hacky sacks are going to take over Washington, D.C., that was never going to happen. And I'm not saying that it should have happened, but even the worst case scenario, the worst thing anyone believes about the bad intentions of what happened there, it stood no chance. Let's imagine they all had guns. Let's imagine 2,000 people with guns walked into Washington, D.C., and they're like, we've had enough of your shit. It's time for you to go. I I don't know how packed in tightly they'd get or how many mortars or drones it would take to liquidate 2,000 people. Probably, I guess, depends on how wide or how tightly packed into one area they are, but they would not get anything. You can't have pissed off people against the U.S. government and win. It's got a fraction. Before the Civil War, I guess we've always been a two-party state, our country. And before the Civil War, there was the Democrat Party and the Whigs. And the Whigs were, well, you had the Democrat Party, and then the opposition was the Whigs, and it was slavery that created the Republican Party. There were people in the Democrat Party and people in the Whig Party who wanted to abolish slavery. Obviously, the Democrat Party wasn't going to abolish it. They were all for it. And the Whig Party didn't care one way or the other. It's hard to lump everyone together. But it was, they were indifferent, or they weren't gonna accomplish it so much that everyone from both the Whigs and the Democrats who wanted to get rid of slavery formed a new party. That's what it takes to get a civil war. If you can get people who are willing to leave their political party enough to actually get rid of, so you got the big two today, you got the Republicans and the Democrats. To actually have a civil war, you have to have an issue so important that a third party forms out of people from the Democrats and Republican Party. There has to be a third thing. And I'm not talking about the independents or these other fringe things that have been there forever. There has to be something out there that siphons 20, 30, 40% of each of the big parties off. Maybe, let's say 30%. You got to get 30% of the Democrats, 30% of the Republicans. And I don't know what the actual number is. I'm not trying to pretend that. But it's got to be more than 2%. It can't be... It can't be 2% because no one gives a shit about that. It's got to be, imagine a third party, the Vava Vava party that forms, 30% Republicans, 30% Democrats, have had enough of the shit of their party and they go form this other thing. And maybe it's more, I'm guessing. Well, obviously, the Whigs are the one who are eaten up, so I'm guessing 60% of the Whigs join the Republicans and 30% of the Democrats, something like that. There's enough Democrats stayed behind that the Democrat Party didn't disappear, and enough Whigs left that the Whig Party was gone. And so then you've got two new parties. And that's how Lincoln won. Lincoln wanted to be vice president and have someone, because he was from the Whig Party, and he wanted another candidate from the Democrat Party to be president. I think this is true. I'm remembering this. I got into the Civil War and was studying a bunch. How does a new party come around? And basically, Lincoln's like, well, I don't want, I want to show that we're really a new thing and not just an offshoot of the Whig Party. So the first couple times he ran, he wanted to be vice president with a Democrat Party, former Democrat Party front runner. And then I don't know how many times he ran or what he ran for as front runner. As top of the ticket, but eventually I think he lost a presidential election and then he won. And then the Civil War happened. But that's all of this long thing. The last 45 minutes I've been discussing is just really laying down. You can't, to start a civil war, you can't just be talking shit on social media. You can't just think you're way smarter than someone else. And it can't be some pet project that you're super into. Like, I don't know, pick anything. Environmentalism. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about that. And I don't think anyone's willing to murder over it yet. Certainly no one's ready to leave the party that they're in to go. And no state is willing to go to war against the other states over it. So I guess I'll go on the record as saying civil war is not going to happen, because civil wars don't start just because you really think your political side's right and the other side's wrong. That's not, shit talking doth not a civil war make. I hate looking at myself because I can see how quickly it takes my mustache to bend the wrong direction and look stupid. So if I was thinking, okay, well, what kind of issues would get people in this age riled enough, polarized enough to actually start a civil war? And I've come up with the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I absolutely believe at least the pro side would be willing to start a war. The pro right to bear arms group would start a war because they would see that right as the only way to protect the other rights. If you don't have the right to have guns, then all your other rights can just go away. And I'm not going to argue whether or not that's true. I obviously have my opinions. Everyone has their opinions. But what I think we can all agree on is there's a lot of people who are willing to go to war over that. The real question is, are the people who want to get rid of guns, and it depends on, I'm not going to start the debate over sensible gun control, pros and cons or anything. I am having a hard enough time seeing, if someone wanted to start a war, because that's it. Both sides have to want to start the Civil War. And once the Civil War has started, they want to continue the Civil War and win. You can't have a war unless both sides agree, or one side is a conquering, vanquishing foe. It's like America could go to war with Mexico, even if Mexico didn't want to, because we were so advanced in our technology that we can bring a war wherever we want to. Now, can Vermont start a war with Mexico? It would probably be over. If they went all in, it would be over pretty quick. So I guess that's what I'm saying is a force can be so big that it can start any war that it wants. But if you have two anywhere near equally matched sides, and it doesn't even need to be equally matched. If you just got one side that can make trouble for the other side, that takes both sides to be in a war, in a way. And I'm bringing this all up because if someone said, all right, I'm going to go to war. If anyone passes another gun law, there's going to be murders on the street. I don't think the pro-gun law people would push the war. I think they would see, we got to take lives to save lives. I don't think that would. I think that'd fall apart. And I'm just riffing here. I'm just thinking why I think maybe the Second Amendment wouldn't lead to a war. I don't think both sides would want to start a war over that. I know one side would, though. And then what else do we got? I think abortion's the other one. 'Cause you got some people who really believe that it's killing. And you got another side who really wants the positive life changes, at least, on paper. At one level, if you say, well, hey, wouldn't it be great to get rid of all of the people who would have a bad shake at life? And if I was to give someone who was super pro-abortion a chance to speak, and I'm not, I'm not anti-abortion, but I'm sure every super hyper pro-abortion person could articulate an argument 10 times better than what I'm trying to do. And I'm not trying to have the discussion now. I'm just saying that meets the criteria of would people take lives to save lives for something like this? I think so. And would people take lives to protect their way of life? Yeah, I think so. This of all the issues that could feel like slavery, to one group or another. Oh, can you guys hear the cat meowing? I told you I wasn't going to talk about cats, but when the cats interrupt my podcast, they fucking cats. So that's, I'm scared to death to say that, to compare abortion to slavery, but that's the kind of thing where both sides believe they've got the moral high ground, and it's completely incompatible to be on one side and be for the other. Now, you can be in the middle and go, yeah, I guess you're killing a kid, but that's okay. I just saw Bill Maher said that. He's like, yeah, we're killing kids, but I don't care. Like I said, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying that's the thing. That's the kind of thing that it would take to get to civil war. And even then, what would it take to get some number of states or military bases? I think in terms of states, because you got to have the military along for the ride, which probably means you got to have states. Like, I can't imagine Central Texas, Randolph military base and a few other military bases around in Texas starting a war and, aligning with a few military bases in Virginia and Pennsylvania. Like, I don't see that happening. I think in terms of states, but who knows? Whatever it is, it's got to be enough people getting together, say, all right, let's go kill. It's not that I want to kill, but I'm willing to kill. What I'm going to do means I'm either going to die and or kill until I get what I want, or enough of us are killed that we've lost. That's when the war starts. So, shit, I could talk forever about the Civil War, and no one wants to hear that. Go watch the Ken Burns thing on the Civil War if you want to learn how it started, how it went through, how it ended. I mean, it ended... So you got General Lee from the South, and the North. The North was invading the South for most of the war. It was the North, coming down to the southern states saying, you've been naughty. You need to stop resisting and accept the way the whole country voted, and accept progress and move in the direction with civilized society. And we're going to come kill you. And the South won a lot of battles. And General Lee was a great general. And he got cocky. And he decided if he didn't want to fight forever, he had to bring the fight up to the North and kick some ass. And that if he kicked enough ass in the North, the politicians would have to accept that the people wouldn't put. He thought the people in the North were okay with the Civil War happening as long as it was down in the South. But if people in the North were getting fucked up, then they would say, all right, enough's enough, Lincoln. Let's just end this thing. The South won enough. And he went up there, and that's, when Gettysburg happened, that's the most famous battle. The General Lee getting his ass handed to him. He was sure he couldn't lose. And there's a lot of battles where the soldiers in the South were dug in and hiding behind brick walls and rocks, and the North were just running across fields to come and get them, and they were just, killed by the thousands. To, thousands on one side to a small number on the other side, because they were all, hiding, and the other side was running across a field. And Gettysburg was when the South fucked up and did that thing, and then they, ran across a field to, a bunch of guys running across the field at, an army with cannons, and they're hiding behind walls with rifles, and they just got mowed down. And what's his name? General Lee retreated, and they should have just followed him and kicked his ass and ended the war right there, but they didn't. And they just kind of kept fighting, and eventually the North had the South. The Northern Army had the Southern Army surrounded, and you could completely surrounded, and it's you can't get out, you can't win, we're so much more of us than you, and you're going to lose. And they offered General Lee the chance to give up without having all his men be slaughtered. And he gave up. They met at Appomattox Courthouse. They surrendered, and once the two armies had gotten to the part where the military part was over, a treaty, the military was over, that was it. It took a while for word to get everywhere. I hear the last battle of the Civil War, I don't know how long after that was, but it was in Texas, and the South won that battle till they found out, the war's over. But that's what it takes to have a civil war. You got to have two militaries, and once the militaries agree that the war's over, then it doesn't matter what all of the rest of the people think, want to do, care, give any fucks about. It doesn't matter. Once the militaries agree that the fighting's over, then you're along for the ride. So I guess it's weird to think that the Civil War came to an end with General Grant and General Lee in a room agreeing on terms to end hostilities, and then once hostilities were over, that's it. War's over. So again, all of this is just to say why we're nowhere near a war, a civil war in this country. Because again, it doesn't have anything to do with how mad me as just some asshole on the street, how mad I am at people who live in this country and think differently than me. It doesn't matter how many there are of me and how many there are of them and how mad we are all at each other. That does not cause an armed conflict. And if we start to go at each other, the military will show up and put that shit to rest. So I don't see anything resembling the starts of a civil war. All right. Is there anything else I wanted to say? That was it on the Civil War. Like I said, I could talk for a few hours about this. I did get some books by Shelby Foote. He talked a lot in the Ken Burns Civil War. Certainly the most fun part of that series. And I found out that he wrote some books, very well researched, very awesome books that go into super detail about the purple, about the people, the purposes they fought for, the different personalities and desires at play. And it's worth reading if you want to read a few thousand pages of history from a very entertaining writer. All right, the movie. Should we talk about the movie? I can do the breaking noise sound. Breaking news sound. Transition time. Transition time, motherfuckers. All right, enough of that shit. All right, for those of you who are watching, I am turning off I got a picture of 3 captured Civil War Southern rebel soldiers who were captured in where I got it from says they were captured in Gettysburg. And I believe this was the photo that was discussed at the end of the Ken Burns Civil War documentary by Shelby Foote, talking about the Southern dignity of the soldiers. And that was so interesting was Shelby Foote was unapologetically from the South, and he didn't at all, try to say, slavery was okay or that the war shouldn't have happened, but he was decidedly respectful to all Americans, even the ones who fought from the South. And so it was interesting seeing that. Oh no, it looks like the lighting changes. I've got another green screen coming tomorrow. The green screen I'm using now is shit. And the background looks like ass. I'll let it go. It's bleeding more and more. Oh, my glasses. My glasses are disappearing. Okay. I know I said I was done talking about the Civil War, the war, and then I kept talking about it. So let's end it again. Fuckers. While the music plays, I'm going to try and adjust the chroma key. That might be it. Let's see. That's a little better. All right. Okay. No! I screwed up. I meant to hit the button to stop the music, and I hit the record the podcast button. Now I gotta stitch these together. Shit, that's gonna take me like 10 minutes. Shit. Maybe I can just export the video. The audio from the video. All right, I'm going to hit the right button this time. Ready? There we go. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the movie. I'm going to hide the Civil War soldiers. I got a picture here of Meth Damon, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. Meth Damon, as everyone knows, is Jesse Plemons. I first saw him in Breaking Bad. I know he was in another show as a kid actor. I think he was a kid actor. I know Breaking Bad he wasn't an undiscovered talent who broke in Breaking Bad. He plays a scene-stealing monster in the Civil War movie. I'm talking about the Civil War movie now, if you guys didn't catch that. And a couple of thoughts on just him as an actor. He is married to... why am I forgetting her name? Anyway, the main female lead from Civil War, the blonde-haired lady, the older lady, not the younger lady. So I don't know why I'm thinking Kristen Stewart, because that's not her name. Anyway, the two of them are married, and as far as I know, this is their first movie together, their first and only scene together. And also, I know when I saw the Breaking Bad movie, I was shocked to see that he had gained like 700 pounds. And it's good to see him skinny again, skinny-ish again. I wouldn't say he's as skinny as he was before, but apparently he gains weight for different roles that he plays, or loses weight based on the needs of the character. And the Breaking Bad one came in the middle of something that he like, hey, can you give me 6 months? And like, nope, we're filming this right now in secret. So that's the only role I know of where he wasn't given a chance to get into the right shape for the role. So him and was it Tom Hanks gained a bunch of weight for Castaway, and I guess Robert De Niro gained a bunch of weight for Raging Bull, and Christian Bale gained a shitload of weight for the Vice President movie, and then lost a shitload of weight for The Machinist. So you got these actors who are willing to put on a bunch of weight or lose. It's funny. I saw something. I'll talk about Full Metal Jacket, because people were comparing this movie, Civil War, to Saving Private Ryan. And I am going to compare it to the second half of Full Metal Jacket more than Saving Private Ryan. I mean, maybe just because Saving Private Ryan felt like a war documentary and it was violent as fuck. But I feel like the vibe of Full Metal Jacket more captures what they were going for in Civil War. And the reason for the awkward transition I have is Private Pyle, for those of you who have seen Full Metal Jacket. He is a disgusting fat body, to quote the drill instructor. And he's the actor who plays him, Vincent D'Onofrio, was a skinny, lanky guy who had to gain a bunch of weight for the movie. And I just saw something funny as a picture of him climbing over an obstacle. And it's like, yeah, he's not bone rail skinny, but he's maybe, 30 pounds heavier than he should be. And maybe it was just the most gratuitous, or the least gratuitous shot where he just didn't look that big, but he was just climbing over, he's 20 feet in the air climbing over something. And I just saw this post. It's like, hey, this guy in 25 years ago, this guy was considered fat. And it gave me pause to think that, I know he gained weight, and I know he was bitching about the effects of gaining the weight on his joints and whatnot. But when you look at him, he didn't gain 100 pounds. He didn't gain 150 pounds. He gained, I don't know what he gained, but it looked like he gained 30 or 40 pounds, and probably took it right off. And good for him. No one should fucking gain 100 pounds to be in a movie, no matter how fat the fuck is that they're playing. And that's it. That's my review, my view for Civil War. What do you think? Yes, I hit the right button. So, we call this guy Meth Damon because he looks like Matt Damon and he sold meth. So that's me explaining the joke. Civil War, the movie. They brilliantly handled a lot of things. Oh, the background's fucking up again. As the lighting changes, the shitty screen behind me changes color, apparently. So the first thing they got, what I consider right in Civil War, is they didn't make it about the Republicans versus the Democrats, or the left versus the right, or anything you're mad at now over politics. It wasn't that. You aren't going to live vicariously through this and go, yeah, take that, you people who disagree with me. I see some people saying you've got no clue which side is which, and I kind of disagree with that. I think you get a clear idea that the president is supposed to be Trump or Trump adjacent. For a couple of reasons I say that. They talked about the Antifa massacre, and they talk about the president disbanding the FBI. And if you were to think, okay, which side is more likely to bomb Antifa, and which side is more likely to get rid of the FBI, I think you can kind of understand if there was a side. And if they mixed it up, like showed like half characteristics from one side, half characteristics from another side, then maybe you couldn't tell. But at least with the president, they give you a couple clues. But, you know, it's weird because he gets like top billing, the guy who plays the president, and he's literally, can I go into spoilers? Yeah, this is spoilers. Spoiler territory. Spoiler territory. I'm not going to ruin it unless you, yeah, I'm going to ruin it. I'm going to ruin the surprise anyway. So the guy who got top billing as the president, he's in it the very first scene and the very last scene. It's not about him. It starts in the middle of the war. It's a story, it's a road trip story about photojournalists documenting the war. It starts in the middle of the war, towards the end of the war, as one side's about to defeat the other side. And you don't really know anything about who started the war until the end, towards the end, or even who, you know, they keep bumping into people who are fighting in the war, and you don't know which side they're on. It's not about sides. What I like so much is it shows that this fantasy we have about going to war, going to civil war, and finally, you know, getting rid of those nasty people who disagree with us once and for all. Like maybe there's this idea that we have that like we can give them a choice. It's like, look, I'm going to kill you or you can repent. Maybe like this old school Salem witch trials kind of thing. It's like, I'll give you one last chance to agree with me before I kill you. And we kind of think that Civil War is going to be like that. We're going to be not happily, but we're going to be on the right side with justice on our backs. And the other side's going to be the bad guys, and we're going to be the good guys. and the bad guys on the other side are going to do bad things, and we're going to fight a gentlemanly war. And all that we ask is that the other side agree with us, and then hostilities will cease. And this movie did a really fucking great job of saying that's not what wars are. Wars are us killing other people and other people killing us. And whoever wins, then their way of life gets to carry on, but it's not like you don't get to hide behind how you thought you were the right person to be in the war. You just got to kill. That's what you're doing. There's this great scene with the sniper, and the photojournalists are talking to these military guys who are they're all pinned down by a sniper. And you don't know which side is shooting. You don't know which side the military is on, because they're basically driving down the road, and then someone starts shooting at them. They pull over behind cover. They come out, and there's some soldiers who are trying to kill the sniper. And this all goes to the larger thing about this not being about sides or overlaying with our political climate, because you don't know you don't even know what side. They talk about WP, and you don't know who that is. Are those the good guys or the bad guys? You don't know. You don't even know which side the WP is. Or WF. WF, sorry. It's just, they just remove sides. And here's a better way to say what I was saying a couple minutes ago. Oh shit, I forgot. It's not about, you don't know, like I said, what side anyone's on. So we're used to thinking, oh, well, I'm going to know who's right and who to root for because I'm going to know what side they're on. And when you don't know what side they're on, you just got some people wearing military gear, and they're shooting at people who are wearing slightly different military gear. You know, you want to say, well, who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? And you don't get that. Even some could say at the end, you kind of deduce what's going on, but you don't really get the sense that the good guys are one side and the bad guys are another thing. You do get the sense that the president caused this by being a 3-term tyrannical piece of shit. But like they had the so you got the country with the president on one side, and then California and Texas are the other side, and they have formed together. And that's kind of, the brilliance of trying to remove it from actual today politics, because you don't, if this was a Democrat versus Republican war, Texas and California would not unite against the rest of the country. So, but it keeps in what I was thinking of, okay, are there enough military bases, military firepower, economical chutzpah, powers, whatever, whenever you look at, if you took all the military and financial and technological resources in California and Texas, you really could believe that would not be an easy win for the rest of the states to just steamroller them out of existence. You can really believe a war could come out of that. How likely is that to happen? How necessary is something like that to happen to actually have a civil war? Those are two questions. The first question, how likely is that to happen? Obviously, 0. I can't think of any reason that would cause Texas and California to say, fuck the other 48 states. It's you and me against the federal government and the other 48 states. So that's what it would take. to start a civil war, and that's not going to happen. I know a lot of people are talking about this movie like this could be where we're heading if we don't learn to talk to each other. But things got to get so much worse for us to actually have enough states want to start some shit in a way that wouldn't just get them wiped out. You know, I love that. If you know, let's take, you know, what if a small town in Texas declared war on California? You know, California would just wipe them out in an afternoon, and there wouldn't be a war. There'd be a lot of dead people, but there wouldn't be a war. So that's what I mean by there's got to be enough power on both sides to have it draw out. So I was talking about the snipers, and then I got lost. No, I didn't get lost. I went down the path of talking about all the other things, but to get back to the sniper scene, the characters are driving through, their vehicle gets shot at, they're hiding. They're next to some military people who are trying to shoot the sniper who's trying to shoot them, and they're asking all these questions like, you know, what side are they on? And, you know, asking the soldiers who are right there, what's the guy who's over there in that building trying to kill us all? Do you even know what side they're on? And they're like, this is a clip. This sentence is actually in the previews. It's like, he's trying to kill us and we're trying to kill him. And they keep asking. It's like, yeah, but do you know what side he's on? And, you know, just kind of the analogy, the good story writing, basically the story writing on that, for me, and I assume the author meant to say that, is what you believe, what you think the purpose of the war is, becomes completely irrelevant when you've got a gun and someone else has a gun and they're trying to kill you. It doesn't matter if they're on your side. Hopefully they're not on your side. They're probably not. You know, I guess it could be a mistaken identity, but I don't think so. I think the idea is, well, two things. One, whoever's trying to kill you is on the other side. And then there's we can pretend that war is about the things we think it is, the wrongs and rights and the morality of it. But when it comes down to it, you're just killing. And the why goes out the door. The why becomes, well, I don't want to die. That's the why. That's the only why that matters in war. I don't want to die. And so if you think starting a civil war would be a great way to have your political side win, you gotta kill a lot of people along the way. Because once the shooting starts, it just becomes I don't want to die. And so that was the brilliance of that scene. And then we got the scene with Jesse Plemons here, Meth Damon. Basically, they're in the middle of committing some atrocities, just slaughtering a city, I assume. And he captures a couple of the photojournalists. And the rest of the photojournalists are there, and they're watching these people dump some guys who were shot in a truck into a pit. And their friends are on the ground at gunpoint, and the photojournalists are like, okay, well, do we stand back and watch our friends die, or do we go down there and intervene and try to talk some sense and use the power of journalism to I don't know, convince this guy who's murdering a village of people. And it makes sense why they do it. and why they think they'll be able to get away. And there's one guy who's like, no, if you go down there, that's death. Going down there is death. You stay here because going down there is death. And there's so many things that are covered in this. I could talk for a couple hours just about this scene and all of the truths about war that come here. It is interesting, the photojournalists who think that the photojournalist code, we haven't picked a side. And if we just go down there, because the people you've captured don't have their photojournalist card. They didn't say this, but maybe it's implied, or maybe you think that, oh, well, they'll just go down there as journalists, show the world, look, we're not on a side, or show the guys with guns and a dead village. Hey, we're not picking sides. We're just here to document what it is y'all are doing. Oh man, the sky's really changing colors. The Meth Damon's really faded out on my chroma key green screen. Let's try this again. I'm going to adjust. There we go. Now he's back a little bit. So yeah, it's like, oh, well, they just don't know that they're journalists. And I'm a journalist with a journalist pass. And if I go down there to these guys who just shot a village of people, I guess you don't really know that they shot a village of people. You just know they're dumping a truckload of people. But basically they go down there, all except for one guy. And they're like, all right, hey, mass murderer guy, there's been a big misunderstanding. We're the press. We're not for or against you. We're just here to document the fucking war and these atrocities here that you seem to be doing. And then they're basically he starts shooting them one at a time, and they don't all die, but there's so many points to it, but it's pretty good. The whole, hey, I'm a journalist. I'm just going to go down there in the middle of the story and everything's going to work out for me. He's killing people indiscriminately, and I happen to be a person, but things will work out good for me. And I can't even, oversimplify it. It's such a good movie. You'll watch it. You will hate him all over again. I guess he's been typecast as jerks or people you want to hate. I'm talking about Jesse Plemons, the actor here. Kirsten Dunst, that's the name of the lady. Mrs. Jesse Plemons. That's the lady who's the female lead in the show. And I guess I can call Jesse Plemons Mr. Kirsten Dunst from now on. So that scene's pivotal. It's a bunch of pivotal scenes along the way. Both sides do horrific things. Yeah. And the ending. Should I go into the ending? A lot of people I see are pissed off that there seems to be this idea that these photojournalists are pure of heart, that they believe the truth. Let's follow the truth no matter where it leads, and the truth will prevail, and the truth is good. And I don't want to push any side. I don't even want to pick a side. I'm just there to document the truth. And a lot of people, and I think rightly so, are like, that's not news today. You don't turn on cable news and find a bunch of people who haven't picked a side. And if you were to talk about a civil war and what's dividing us so much, like I was saying earlier about social media, the news media too, they understand that they make more money by saying shit that makes you mad. I was up at my parents' house a couple weeks ago, and I was watching the local news up in Central California. God damn, it's like, I don't even know what to say. It's just like shit that didn't matter to anyone. It wasn't even particularly political. It's just, you know, what do you do if you got a news show every, you know, a couple times a day? You got to fill an hour worth of something. And it's not just the Central Valley, because it was Sacramento too, which is the capital of the state. So it's not like, when I say they didn't have anything to report, it's not like I'm talking about a news station for 3 acres of pasture. You know, this was Sacramento and the Central Valley. So when I say they had nothing to talk about and they filled an hour with it, the idea that someone could make a living out of reporting the news 24 hours a day, just that sucks ass. And then you get the whole, hey, we can make money if we just make it political and tell people what they want to hear. I'm looking at you, cable news. Just shitty shit. One side or the other. And you know what shows or what channels to watch to hear your side of things, and nothing resembling respect for the other side of things. And that's certainly part of what's pushing people to what they think is a path to civil war, but it's just a path to us hating people that we think are different than us. But anyway, there's a lot of people who are unhappy about the way the photojournalists are treated, because they really play up that ideal that they are there to show the world the truth, no matter what it is, and not judge it. Just show the world the truth and let the world make up their mind. And fair enough. If it ended there, I'd say that was a fairly, you know, what they found, the 4 photojournalists who were like that, who aren't trying to advocate for outcomes with their news. They aren't there to change the world. They're not there to change the world in a certain direction. They're just there because they love the idea of a world changing, but they don't care what it is as long as it's the truth. You know, I don't think there's anyone there. A lot of people are mad at that, but I don't think that's the point of the movie. I haven't seen this out there yet, so I'm going to share my idea on this, and maybe I'm the first one there, and I can win like a couple of hot dogs from Wiener Schnitzel for this fresh take. Is this spoiler? This is plainly spoiler territory here. So go ahead and stop this until after you watch the movie. So the Kirsten Dunst character, I don't remember the names of any of the characters. And they weren't even all that particularly strong, but that's not the point. The point is the road trip, not the characters. They might as well, you know, all been like John McClane from Die Hard. The purpose of Die Hard is not the strength of the character. It's, I don't even know, just the exciting adventure. This one, it's what happens and what they learn along the way. So that's why I don't remember the names of any of the characters. And I don't say that as a slight. I just say that I'm going to call out people using something other than their names. So Kirsten Dunst, the seasoned war photographer who's been to wars all over. She got famous because she photographed the Antifa massacre, and then just became a war correspondent and says lots of stuff along the way. Basically, there's a young lady who wants to join the traveling group of war photographers. And she, in her early 20s, and the Kirsten Dunst character wants to protect the young character from the dangers that would happen, the peril to her life, but also what would happen to her soul if she survived long enough to let being in that industry affect her the way it has affected her. So that's interesting enough. And the young upstart is she's got dark hair, so I can say there's the blonde lady and the dark-haired lady, and then there's two guys, and one's the skinny guy with the mustache, and the fat guy. There you go. I think I've described them all. And as a fat guy with the mustache, I can use both. I can distill people down just to both of those characteristics. So the young brunette is scared of being hurt, but scared of dying, scared of death, scared of all of that, but coming into her own, realizing her responsibilities. And they talk about all of the puritanical. Is puritanical the wrong word? It is. The highest, mightiest, most altruistic explanation of what a photojournalist can be. And they all claim to be that, the chasers of the truth. The guy with the mustache is a drunk womanizer, likes attention, goes out and gets the shot. I don't know that he's got an arc at all. And then the fat guy is old and been there, done that. And basically they're going through and they all kind of acknowledge the sacredness of their profession. And at the end, well, the fat guy basically sacrifices. Oh, he didn't sacrifice himself. He got shot. And they make it, clear, he believed, he really believed what the mantra of the photojournalist was. The don't pick a side, and you're there to make positive change by sharing the truth. And in the final bit of the movie, the remaining three are embedded with a team that are making the push to basically to end the war. And you see the older blonde-haired lady is breaking down. She stops a lot and needs time to process what it is she's doing. Because basically they're pushing through Washington, D.C. to the White House to go kill the president. The army is, and they're embedded on the fucking front line. Like, whoever's the closest to the White House with a machine gun, these photojournalists are standing behind that person. I don't know how realistic that is, but I don't think you want to be the second person. And maybe not there. Maybe they're like a car length away from the first person, but they are right there. They are like, where's everyone aiming their guns at? Put me in the middle of that. And that doesn't seem very good, but it probably is true. It goes in line with the idea that, well, we're in the press and the loftiness of our goal will save us. So they're going through, marching on the White House, and people are dying on both sides. And the blonde-haired lady, Kirsten Dunst, is having a hard time at it. And Mustache Man, because they set up, Mustache Man in the beginning was constantly pulling the younger brunette out of the line of fire, just letting her peek a little bit around the corner with the camera. That's kind of their relationship at the beginning. And then at the end, he's not paying any attention to her. I guess there's a couple of times she gets brazen, but the young brunette's kind of as close to the action as she can get and making a lot of stupid mistakes. And there's only a couple times that he yells, "Get over here." So basically, I guess I'll let me get through the ending, and then I'll say what I think it means about the characters. Basically, they're marching through the White House, committing atrocities, people with their hands up, surrendering, getting shot 1,000 times, unarmed people, the press secretary standing in the press secretary, trying to negotiate the surrender of the president. She gets shot, just shoot, die, as they walk through to get to the president. And there's this thing where they're at the final standoff, and the young brunette's like, "Oh, I'm going to stand here in the middle of the hallway where the shooting's happening. I'm not even going to stand in cover because here's the big push. I'm just going to stand right in the middle where there's nothing that would protect me because I want to get the shot." And then the Kirsten Dunst. This is really spoiler territory. So if you've already seen it, I'll explain why I think this is. But if you haven't seen it, this is the ending. This is me telling you that Verbal to Cripple is Kaiser Soze. This is the shock, or the ending. Basically, she, in the smallest break in fire, machine gun fire, she goes and stands in the line of fire. And then the Kirsten Dunst character jumps in the middle of the room, in the middle of the hallway, to push the young girl down. The young girl gets pushed down, realizes the gunshots are going and that the Kirsten Dunst character is still standing up, and the young girl pulls her camera out and gets some action photojournalistic shots of her friend, mentor, the woman who saved her life, getting shot to death, standing over her, because she caused that to happen. And then you just kind of, Kirsten Dunst falls down dead, lays down next to her. She just kind of like, "Okay, I got the shot." Or they don't really say what she's thinking, but they don't make it look like she's like, "Oh no, Kirsten Dunst is dead. My mentor is dead." She's looking like, "Shit, yeah, this is a great shot." And then they make the final push, and the president's in there, and they're going to shoot him. And the mustache man yells, "No, don't shoot him yet." And he kneels over him and he says, "I need a quote." And I won't ruin the rest, but basically the president says something. The guy's like, "Okay, that'll do." And then they shoot the president, and then the movie's over. And my interpretation of what this movie's saying about photojournalism, the news, all of that, is you've got the ideal. You got the stories you tell each other, that you're there to follow the story wherever it leads. And you're just there as a nonpartisan, even in the extent that there's a civil war. You're still not going to pick a side. You're just there to capture reality so you can share reality, whatever it is. You've got that ideal. And two of the people live that ideal. Two of the photojournalists in the movie lived that ideal. And they died. They kept their humanity. They never directly led to any deaths. They never, they just were just people with cameras. Maybe they'd ask a couple of questions, but they weren't there to judge. They were very dismayed when people died. They kept their humanity basically throughout. And then you get the other two people, the other two photojournalists who became part of the story. Seeing what was happening wasn't enough. They wanted to get the shot that would make the career. They wanted to stop what was happening and change it. Documenting reality wasn't enough for them. They needed to shove the story in a direction that they wanted it to move in, so that they could get what they wanted and ride the success. And they didn't care who got hurt, whether it was watching the president die in front of you, or your hero, your lifelong hero, who you had just been on a few-day road trip with and had literally just saved your life. You didn't care who got hurt in the crossfire as long as you got to push the story you wanted to tell. That's what that meant to me. And I don't know, it could be my damage that had me see it that way. I know a lot of people love this movie. A lot of people are mad at it, and no one seems to be mad at it for the way it talks about journalism, other than to be mad that they seem to act like journalists are the best thing since sliced bread. So that's it. I want to watch the movie again, so it's a good movie if you want to watch it again and you want to talk about it. I could probably do 5 more podcasts on the movie. Again, I'll say it goes into what a civil war really would be without any of the bullshit that, like, the New Yorker and people who are fantasizing about a civil war coming, without having anything like that. Like the side I'm on. Because again, everyone's like, oh, well, it might be worth it if my side wins. They just get rid of sides. There is no sides. I mean, obviously there's two groups of people trying to kill each other, but the movie's like, that's not what civil wars are about. Civil wars are about two groups of people killing each other. And then whoever wins, they get to decide what happens next. So that's the warning for people who get off on the idea that your side's so right. Maybe a few people on the other side need to die to realize how serious you are. Yeah. Okay. Great fucking movie. Best movie of the year so far. I've only seen a couple movies this year. Is it better than Oppenheimer? Shit, it's a different thing. But yeah, it's up there with Oppenheimer. Is it better than The Predator? Yeah, oh yeah, it's better than that. It's better than Titanic? I gotta watch Titanic again to see. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to me talk about the war. I'll see you fuckers later. All right. I stopped the podcast. Maybe I'll release that as 2 podcasts. I did stop talking about it right in the middle, right at the transition from the Civil War to the Civil War, the war to Civil War, the movie. So maybe Maybe the second one will stand on its own as a two-parter. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, fuck yeah. I'm going to take a listen. All right. See you cocks later. I hit click stop streaming and it says you will not be able to reconnect. Your stream will stop and you will no longer be live. Oh shit, is that what happens when I click stop streaming? It